This is an exciting day. We are kicking off a new program here, and it's called Infer X. And what it's going to do is provide some really awesome features and capabilities for you students to work on some awesome projects. And so I'm going to talk a little bit now about what type of projects that they are, and more details about the program. And we're fortunate to have a member of the Qualcomm group with us on this Zoom call. This is being recorded. And he's going to give you some information about Qualcomm's platform and how you're going to be able to use it to build interesting AI inference projects. So, hi, everyone. I'm David Ertl. I'm the executive director of the N+1 Institute here on campus. We are starting a new edge computing lab. So one of the things that the Edge Computing Lab will host for us is the Infer X program. So there's a lot to go over, but we're going to kind of keep things brief. This is an info session right now, just so you can understand kind of what's available to you and how to take advantage of it. And I want to show you a couple of examples of edge computing projects that can get you to start thinking about, what are some things that I could build through this. The focus of this is going to be AI inferencing at the edge. Okay, so think of at the edge being your mobile device or a robot, right? Or an autonomous vehicle is another example of an edge computing use case. And then there's a lot of devices that are in manufacturing that are monitoring machines and equipment and supply chain flows that use what we call Internet of Things, right, to monitor those things, which are also great candidates for edge computing use cases. Before I get into this, I want to really thank Qualcomm for helping us pull this together. Kind of short notice, so that's why we didn't quite get it started at the beginning of the semester, but this will run all throughout the whole school year. Qualcomm's been super supportive of us doing these projects and is providing a lot of cool hardware for this that I'm going to show you in a little bit. So thanks, Qualcomm, for your outstanding support of this. This would not be possible without their help. So you'll be able to interact with some of the Qualcomm folks throughout the semester and throughout the year. So when you get a chance, just say hi and thanks to them. Otherwise, you wouldn't be able to do all these cool things. First, a little bit about inferencing, right? So everyone's heard of inferencing, I assume, right? So who's actually built projects or some application that uses inferencing? So you take you have a large language model that's been trained, and then you actually use it through APIs or whatever to feed it sensor data, images, whatever it be, and then do inferencing based on that. So it's, like recognition, identification. So anybody here built an application like that yet? Sweet. Okay, we got one. We got a couple. We got three. Okay, fantastic. So by the end of this, with the support from Qualcomm, with the program that we're putting on through Infer X, all of you should be able to say that you've done that. And that's actually pretty big because the future workforce, which is you, are going to need to have skills in inferencing at the edge. Why is that? Well, there's a number of reasons why inferencing at the edge makes more sense. If you look at this comparison, you see, the differences. So the location, cloud server versus local devices, the latency, right? So when you do an application that runs on an LLM that's working off the cloud, there is latency to that. And you can reduce some of that latency by paying for faster, more GPUs, et cetera, on your application. But is that really practical for everybody, right? Also, there's computational power. If you've got a robot that's running, it's not going to have cloud-like computational power, right? It's only going to have a minimal amount of computational power. So there's only so much that it can do in terms of like identifying what it's seeing as it's moving around and making adjustments because of that. Certainly doesn't have the computational power of cloud. So that's why you need to take large language models and convert them into small language models that are going to run efficiently on your edge devices. In terms of connectivity, that's also a difference, right? So you have to have stable, high bandwidth internet to be able to connect into an LLM and interact with that. So if you're running a robot, obviously it doesn't have high bandwidth connection with the LLM in the cloud. So it's got to be super efficient, mobile, and be able to deal with intermittent connections, right? So what happens if the wireless goes down for a blip? You know, is your application able to handle that appropriately, right? And then data privacy is another thing too, where you know, if your app is taking sensitive information, like for example, in a healthcare setting, or maybe your social security number, and transmitting that to the cloud, um, it's not as secure, right, as you probably would want it to be. And so that is another reason why you would want to do inferencing at a local device and not have to send all this information up to the cloud. So cost is high for cloud-based computing. And the last is, what is this used for? So cloud's better for model training, complex models, large scale data analysis, not time critical, right? So that's how I would separate like what I could do in the cloud if I want to build an app. But if my requirements are that it's got to be real time, it's got to be able to take action based on something that it's sensing or inputting on that device, or if there's potentially low connection with the cloud, or you've got privacy and sensitive applications. Those are things that I would drive then to an edge computing use case, right? So where you want to do inferencing at the edge. If you do a quick comparison of platforms, just in terms of like computing power, cloud-based platforms like NVIDIA's Hopper 100 based GPUs have approximately almost 4,000 trillion operations per second capability, right? But then when you look at what your laptop has, let's say you have a pretty typical laptop that's doing AI, okay, only that's doing an AI-enabled laptop. Those are typically, at least for a minimum of for running Microsoft Copilot Plus, is roughly 40 tops. Qualcomm has their second generation X2 Elite chips that are going to come out, and it'll double that, which is great. And then if you look at an industrial Internet of Things type of application, those are a system on a chip, right? So even smaller form factor than the computing power you'd have in your laptop. And those are going to run somewhere around 12 times, right? So if you think about, you know, cloud and the size of LLM, right? And you're running it on 4,000 tops compared to 12 tops on an IoT device. There's a big difference in those models, a big difference in how you tune them in order to run effectively on those devices. So that's kind of some of the things that you're going to learn as you go through building an app that's tuned for and optimized for use on the edge. Some examples, I think I talked about these already, but basically for edge inference, autonomous vehicles is a really excellent, you know, something that we can all understand and sort of understand how it's bringing in sensor data. It's having to, you know, translate that on board. It's having to run it against models for awareness and identification. And then it makes the vehicle take action because of that for autonomous driving, right? So those are excellent types of scenarios. You know, it doesn't have to be autonomous driving, but if you think about, break it down into optimizing an LLM to be an SLM running on an edge device, that's one thing. And then doing the inferencing, so taking your sensor data in and inferencing it against that model, that's two things. And then the third is taking some sort of action. And that's what we really want you to focus on. So those three components: optimizing your LLM to an SLM, taking in sensor data and inferencing on that SLM, and then taking in action. So anything that you want to build that has those three components would be a good candidate to go through this program. Okay. Yeah, so autonomous vehicles, factory floor machines. Anyone heard of digital twins? One? Okay. Two? Well, because I told you about them. Yeah. So digital twins are basically, if you think about a factory and there's machines that are doing an operation, and then they have sensors on them to show where that machine is in its cycle, the tolerances, how much, if it's shaping something, show you exactly where the arms are. So that's the physical machine. Digital twin is you create a digital replication of that entire machine, bring that sensor data into your digital model, and then do all kinds of interesting analysis with that, like trying to figure out what the failure components might be, or the mean time to failure, or predictive maintenance cycles that you might have to do on it. So that's digital twins, and we'll talk about those, or we'll introduce those to you also through this program. So now, to make it a little more sort of tangible, I want to show you this video as an example. Okay. And so we should see some of this show up next week, which is fantastic. Then you'll be able to get it in hands and start to play around with it and start to brainstorm on what kinds of things you could do. So Yoga Slim 7s, and these are all right Qualcomm based equipment. So it's all got the Snapdragon X Elite platform in it, so you can do inferencing on that device. Samsung Galaxy S25s, so we'll get a handful of those. This is a Rubik Pi 3, which is an interesting, it's kind of like, the Raspberry Pi, right? It's like the Raspberry Pi, but it's got an SoC on it that actually has full inferencing capability on it. So it's got GPU, NPU, and CPU on board on this device. So you can connect in sensors, video, audio, LiDAR, whatever you want to connect into it, and you can build some apps that run on it. And then you could control something like this. We'll be getting several of these in also. So you could build an app on that board and plug it into the robot device and start to build apps to control it and use sensors to identify what its surroundings are and what it's encountering. So we'll have those. We're also going to have Qualcomm Innovators Development Kit, which is kind of a similar platform to what you saw the OpenGate example. It's very similar to that, just a little bit of a different form factor. And this, what I've been told is that this you could think of as like a smartphone, but without the phone pieces of it, right? So it's kind of like that level of computing capability on this board. And then we hope to get some pretty interesting AR and XR devices as well. So Adrian, who's with us, can talk about that more, but there's some really interesting things that are coming out right now. And kind of thinking that those AR glasses would allow you to do some really interesting applications, right? So you'll be able to, I think it communicates with your phone for the actual processing power, but then everything you see is displayed in your vision. So you could create some apps that do things as you're walking around, maybe interpreting things that you're seeing, or I don't know, kind of whatever you want to do. And then this new project, Mohan, I think it's said, is a new XR headset that is that's an Android headset. Samsung is developing it, and it's got Qualcomm chips inside powering it. So this would be actually pretty cool too. You could do some interesting inferencing stuff with gaming. Well, so yeah, this is going to be pretty exciting to have all this stuff. But in the meantime, there's also this Qualcomm device cloud that allows you to develop an app right now and test it out on real hardware through their cloud connection, right? So you don't actually have to have the phone in hand to develop an app and test it and run your inferencing optimization for your mobile device in hand. You can write the apps, you can submit them through to their dedicated device and through the cloud, and you can do all your testing and debugging that way. So that's available too. So a lot of hardware. I talked about a lot of hardware stuff that you're going to get your hands on, but there's more to it, right? And what we want to do through the Infer X program is provide some opportunities for you to build community, to get to know other students who are interested in working on projects, as well as do some learning. And Qualcomm has a nice certificate that you can earn. It's called the AI Upskill Certificate. And we'll go through that in meetings for Infer X, and you can go through it with us. It's essentially it's a self-registration program, and you can go through it self-paced, but we're going to do it together. So you do a segment of it. You'll do it independently, but together in a group. And then, at the end of it, you'll earn your AI upskill certificate from Qualcomm, which is a nice thing for future if you are interested in doing this in the future, these kinds of building things. So in a nutshell, what Infer X is a place for you, a program for you that's going to supply hardware, developer kits to help you build and optimize on edge devices, sensors, contests. I didn't talk about that yet, but workshops like that AI upskill certificate, as well as general workshops on building out an AI-based app or things like that. So some of it is like you've got to tell us what you're looking for or what you need in terms of skills, and then we'll put together workshops to help you through that. Okay. As well as some support. So we've got 2 undergraduate students who are helping with setting up the lab, communicating what we're all doing through the lab, and helping you hands-on with some of your projects where you need it. As well as space for you to come and explore his devices and work hands-on with those. Unplugged is an opportunity for you to get together socially and talk about, share out with other projects, what you're doing, how you're doing it, those kinds of things. So we'll do those frequently also, so you get a chance to not have to listen to people like push information to you, but just like work amongst yourselves, and we'll provide some treats and things like that. So we'll have that. And then in terms of contests, this is another interesting element of this whole thing, is that in the spring, through the M+1 Institute, we have an Edge Computing Symposium where we invite in some top-level industry speakers to share with us what they're doing that's very innovative on the edge. Last symposium, we had Motorola came in and talked about all the, especially what they're doing with first responder and police little cameras that they wear now that are fully immersive and interactive, and they can do lots of different communication things. And so Motorola talked to us about that. GE Healthcare talked to us about what they're doing to disconnect patients in hospital rooms from wires. So now they're going completely wireless. You'll have sensors that are wireless placed on your body, and it'll go to a local small edge device, form factor similar to a smartphone. And then that will handle all the alerts and everything. So imagine how robust that device has to be if it's monitoring a patient who's on life support, or is at risk for having a heart attack or something like that. Like, that stuff can't fail, right? The batteries can't die. The sensor has to work 24/7. It has to be, private, so you're not sharing information. So there's a lot of really interesting edge solutions that are happening in healthcare right now. Another perfect example for this. So we've got a lot of things to share with you, but right now I want to share Adrian. So Adrian, I'm going to try to bring you here full screen with the group.
Okay, cool. Oh, I see myself. Yes. Can you guys hear me? That's cool. Too bad I cannot get any of that pizza. Okay, so hey guys, nice to meet all of you. I'll give you a short intro on myself, but I think for me, one of the things that I happen to have a very unique role where I visit folks like you a lot, different universities. And one of the things that I've noticed throughout my experience is obviously there's a lot of amazing students out there like yourselves who have capability and able to work at a company like Qualcomm. And I'll explain a little bit about the company also as well for those of you that are not aware of what we do. But at the end of the day, what I'm seeing is that, for your ability to network with companies is what gets your foot in the door. It's what gets the conversation going. Um, you know, as you find yourselves being future users of AI or developers of AI, whether it's on edge or cloud or both, I think, it's a very competitive market. And for you to be able to explore not only with Qualcomm, maybe other vendors and industry partners that work with Infer X in the future. The key goal here is Qualcomm, our engineering groups are always looking for amazing students who are tinkering with our product, who have the ability to maybe explore things that are exposing our capabilities to the world, right? So when we saw this opportunity and David and company invited us from your school to sponsor this, we obviously are very excited to be able to be a part of this. If you look at my company, I started like before all of you guys were born. I started at Qualcomm in 96. And back then, the company was really focused on trying to deploy technology related to infrastructure for wireless technology. So on the wireless side, we're like top tier developers. We've been doing it for decades. And we have our CEO today talks about the gladiator concept where we're always fighting and evolving ourselves. So at one point, as Qualcomm came to a realization that deploying infrastructure technology is a very difficult thing, meaning the switching, things that other companies were good at. We realized that the encoding mechanism that really made our CDMA technology valuable just could not just sell itself. You have to know how to package something like that. So the company evolved at that point. I would say this is, oh man, like, I don't know, like 15 years, about 20 years, 15, 20 years ago, we started breaking, we saw a fork in the road where we realized that innovation and licensing was our business model rather than deploying physical hardware to carriers that provide today your service, if you will, globally. So somehow, some way, I was hired to deploy these CDMA infrastructure systems, travel all over the world, and I've been very fortunate to stay at Qualcomm this long. And so now I find myself working with amazing scientists. Qualcomm Technologies as a whole, you could think of it as like 8 or 9 different companies from within, right? Each company is trying to productize things that are very innovative. In this case, licensing technology. And it varies from the traditional stuff on semiconductors, which some of you have interest, maybe experience in, developing the SoC, wireless technology, the wireless research, doing digital hardware, kind of traditional value that Qualcomm brings to the table in terms of providing product. Those are different organizations that rely on working with universities today. In addition to that, we have the amazing stuff on the AI research. We've been doing this for decades, just like other amazing companies that you guys know that have been working on this. We have, multimedia computing as a separate division as well, secure system design, autonomous driving. That's a big interesting concept where, we've developed, the whole idea of fusing data, real-time data from LiDAR, radar, different sensors, putting it together into a device as quickly as possible to be able to infer decision making for you to be able to drive safely. That's like a difficult and very challenging technology product. And these are amazing people that I happen to work with because my goal is to make sure that when we work with universities like yourselves and faculty and researchers at universities, we make sure that we have a nice program that enables us to be able to have our scientists benefit from working with people like David, professors at University of Wisconsin and other amazing schools globally. And that's how I find myself here today. So a few years ago, I would say, we were always in the business to business concept, right? So Qualcomm creating innovative technology, licensing, working with technology vendors, if you will, to incorporate our chipset, to incorporate our technology into something that they sell to you. So traditionally, Qualcomm, you're not going to be able to buy our stuff off the shelf. We basically work with other amazing partners that you're a consumer of that integrates our technology into their solution. So ideally, this whole concept of now trying to reach out to you directly, like today, it's really company to developer. So we recognize that this whole AI edge that we're really betting on, right? David alluded to this. He talked about this. So the concept of cloud AI versus edge AI will probably become apparent more and more as people become users aggressively. And in some way or another, I guess the bottom line is how much power does it take to do inferencing? And how much will it be required for all of us to be using AI wherever it's evolving to? And does that equate properly to is the power resources available out there? And if not, how do you become more efficient perhaps so that your models that you will either develop or use are leveraging the AI capabilities on the edge or on-prem, as they call it. So your phone or whatever device you have, there was an XR device that I saw, as these devices are able to take on the quality of the latency, the performance, the power capabilities, but still provide you the AI output to your edge application, then that would be a way of maybe improving the power consumption required globally. And we're betting on this as a company. Obviously, we have the SoC, the system on chip that has the NPU, GPU, CPU across many different platforms. So now I find myself not only working very heavily. By the way, you guys are part of the Innovation Fellowship Program that I've been managing for many years, where it's actually a research competition. So not only do I find myself working with all these divisions that are interested in collaborating with universities strictly on research, but now we're finding ourselves, hey, let's adopt a model where now that we know we could put our technology on a developer for developer purposes, meaning you guys can maybe create apps, you guys can create, implement applications and tools, or develop tools that whether you use our platform or somebody else's, you're going to help evolve the need and the capabilities of AI edge benefits, in general. So here we are today, working with many universities, and this is kind of a very unique opportunity for us because even though we have sponsored schools to use our platform, it's usually trying to get them to maybe incorporate it into curriculum, if possible, to help get the exposure going. So I look at your success, by the way, congratulations on getting to where you're at, right? Obviously, it's challenging to be a university student and heading towards maybe being a super scientist for a company, or maybe an educator in the future is challenging. And I'm hoping that as you guys choose to dive into some of these potential projects that you could be a part of, that it opens up some doors for you, right? Not just necessarily you guys using Qualcomm technology, but you guys looking at how it is that Qualcomm is trying to take on the challenge of using AI on the edge. And maybe that will provide some tools for you that will make you more valuable to however you decide to proceed in your careers. So what I wanted to do maybe as a part of this discussion and connecting with you guys is I also need to reciprocate. Let me thank you guys, right? Let me thank Infer X for letting us be a part of this. I think it's exciting, and I want you to know that as we dive into your projects in the future or soon, there's a lot of cool engineers that are part of the mentorship program that are helping us on these platforms. And part of the mentorship for us is that we want it to be a good experience for you guys, for others. So you will have an opportunity as you dive in and pitch proposals or projects that Qualcomm will be able to reciprocate and also pitch in some mentorship and some guidance to help you guys in your experience. Okay. So I did have a bunch of website links. By the way, I sent all these web links to David so that he could have them for reference. And some of these, looks like he already showed you guys, but I'll go over that. I'll present my screen here in a second. I want to show you a few of the platforms that today we are working with universities. Obviously, there are more than what I'm going to show you, and there are up and coming new technology platforms that could also be something that you guys embark in as you dive into working with Qualcomm or with Infer X. I get a feeling that a lot of the projects that you guys are working on or applications that you guys plan on developing can either be ported over to our platform or can be benchmarked against our platform. And that's what we think the value is. The value is that if you guys can take, let's say, one of our robotics platforms and incorporate it into it, today I got a call regarding the F-110 autonomous race car. And the idea there is like the student is interested in maybe incorporating our robotics platform into an already integrated platform they're using, replacing that, and just benchmarking it against something they're already familiar with, like NVIDIA or other platforms. And I'm hoping that that can be also an experience for you, something that you're already working on, that you have an interest in, and that you're thinking, wait a minute, let me try this platform. According to David and others, maybe there's some advantageous aspects to working with the Qualcomm platform. So it could either be maybe projects that you guys are already in the middle of doing, ideas, things you've done, maybe whether it's at a club level or maybe for a course, and try integrating our platform. Or if you're trying to do something from scratch, that's also interesting to us. If you're able to explore or open source your tools, things you develop, projects like the video you saw earlier, David presented, I think in the end, that's what we want. We want our product to sell itself through from student to student, faculty to student, academia to students. And you guys will be our future industry employees. So in the end, if there are tools that you use today that may be helpful for your industry, then Qualcomm wins, right? Qualcomm has the benefit of hopefully giving you a good experience that you may leverage in the future. And therefore, our business continues to thrive. And like our CEO says, as gladiators, we're continuing to evolve every day. You can't rest, right? Every day there's a challenge that just because you're successful doesn't mean you'll be there tomorrow, right? You have to keep finding ways to keep yourself competitive and in the realm. So I think this edge AI concept that hopefully you guys are interested in is valuable. And who decides to leverage that potential market and opportunities, hopefully we'll get a large benefit from it. So us as an industry partner and you as a user and developer. So hopefully we can connect well with some of you and you guys get a good experience out of this. And regardless of what the outcome may be, I think as you explore using our platform, like I said, this will be a tool in your back pocket, whether it's good or bad experience or how you see our mentorship in terms of driving you for developing a tool. Hopefully will help you in your careers. So having said that, let me see if I can share my screen here using Zoom. So, okay. So what I'm going to do is go through a few tabs, maybe dive a little bit into some of these developer platforms. I think there's too much information here, first of all. In the end, if you're able to go into what David called the Qualcomm device, the QDC, the Qualcomm device, why am I drawing a blank?
The cloud.
Thank you. The Qualcomm device cloud. Or if you're able to get into some of these software hubs that we have, that we call the AI hub, then it's definitely a good starting point. But hopefully there's a couple of nuggets here that you guys can take with you. And also we are available for follow-up questions. So I'm sure maybe I'm not really covering this well, or you have some additional questions about diving in and David wants to redirect to us. We'll be more than happy to answer that. Okay. So this is the Qualcomm Navigator Developer Kit. Okay, for me, this particular kit really represents like a Samsung device, for example, but it's really, it has the SoC and the capabilities of doing top tier, challenging applications that are easily ported to the phone device you have in your back pocket. What makes this kind of unique is that it's got obviously the AI software hardware stack. It's got some modular capabilities here. You could add a display to this. You could add some other sensors for an application that you may want to develop. And that's the case for most of our platforms. There was a little bit of mention on this Qualcomm, the Qualcomm Academy, right? So I think I did a tab on that here. the Qualcomm Academy is really an online training portal that I don't recommend you dive into much, but do use it if in fact there is some content there that is specific to the platform that you choose. For the Qualcomm Innovator Developer Kit that you guys will hopefully get some soon, and we will provide more as we need to. There is some specific courses on the Qualcomm Academy here. Do you guys see the Qualcomm Academy? Yes, okay. But keep in mind, since we are an AI company, and we are traditionally we're wireless company. We have a lot of content here, right? Maybe there's some stuff here that interests you that you may want to explore outside of the projects you work on. But there is an intent by Qualcomm to at least archive and provide some training on some of these developer kits. And you'll find that as you progress. The one thing I want to highlight, and I think I saw it in David's slides, is there's a recent AI certification that was created. Since we're in the business of AI, please take a look at that. It's probably just a badge of honor, if you will, that you could put on your resume if in fact you go through the curriculum and you get a certificate. So Qualcomm Academy is a great resource for industry members as well as students. But I would maybe suggest stay on the path. Once you choose your platform for your project, there's probably going to be some cool videos available in the Qualcomm Academy. Just stay on that particular training. Don't overwhelm yourself. There's a lot of stuff here, and I'm sure you got plenty of homework that you have to deal with. This particular QIDK kit has been adopted by many schools already. There are professors at CMU, at UCSD that are using this for parallel processing computing course, teaching parallel computing, or what is the other? At CMU, we have a course there for, I guess, taking this device apart, understanding how it's working. I'm kind of drawing a blank on that class. I'm sorry about that, but the point being is that it's not necessary to act. This kit is not only being used to implement projects, but it's definitely being used for teaching in academia at your level, parallel computing and hardware design for AI edge computing. So that's the Qualcomm Innovators Developer Kit. We call it QIDK. There are different chipset models associated with this kit. It continues to be a moving target. It just gets better and better. But this is the top tier developer kit in terms of representative of what we call the flagship mobile SoC. This kit is it. So hopefully you guys would be interested in potentially using this platform. So the Academy is just a resource online, which is great. Let's see what I put here. The course catalog. I think I just opened that. There was the video that you guys saw talked about this robotics device platform, and we call it the RB3 Gen 2. This platform is also evolving, but it also, even though it's got less TOPS capabilities, the idea here is that there is a form factor that you can use maybe to apply for some robotics application or IoT. This is more or less targeted for IoT applications. So it's inference mechanism applications that require low power. In that it's maybe the use case of a project or an application that you want to develop. It's really about maybe sensors in the body or very low power sensor requirements. That's what this could be used for. Now, we happen to have on this robotics platform, this is a form factor of Qualcomm, but we actually do have the Rubik Pi, which is kind of a unique platform here in that they completely modified the form factor. This is a company called Thundercom, and they partner with us on maybe packaging this particular developer kit that coincides very well to Raspberry Pi, for example. So the Rubik Pi is really the Qualcomm SoC, and it's originally intention of doing robotics or IoT applications for AI edge computing. And this is the platform that we want to send to you guys. It's a very low cost model versus the RB3, and it's got a lot of capabilities. Today, for example, there's robotics courses that are being taught using this platform. And faculty tell us that the capabilities that this platform has for AI, NPU, CPU, GPU capabilities, they're barely touching it, right? So we're looking forward for people using this platform to its full potential. So again, almost the same concept of what you're using on the QIDK, but a different application concept for the Rubik Pi. This was a tab, and I sent you the link, David, just for a comparison of how the Rubik Pi compares to what your students may already be familiar with. It's something to look at. It's, obviously lays out the hardware, and I think we recently released Ubuntu OS on this, which is a big home run for us. The ability for us to put Ubuntu OS on this has opened up some opportunities for us where this particular platform will evolve to something that's a lot more powerful very soon. And we're very interested in trying to get that out. Obviously, you guys are perhaps individuals that may be interested as well when that's available. This particular platform, that we call the RB3 Gen 2 or the Rubik Pi, it's got multiple OS capabilities. And I guess something worth mentioning is I put a tab on here. It's easy to we acquired this Edge Impulse company recently, and the concept here for Edge Impulse is you could actually take for SLMs, not LLMs, right? For SLMs, you could actually take this particular tool that is available to you, and it's targeted to optimize for our platform. And actually, before we acquired the Edge Impulse, probably for other platforms as well. But this is a software tool. It's a web portal interface that you can use to do, download, capture data, do some training, right? Most of our platforms don't do training. It's mainly inference. You got to find a way to do your training somewhere else and bring your model into our platforms. But with this particular Edge Impulse, I think most of you will probably like using this because it allows you to explore maybe doing a small language model or an SLM application on our platform, where you could do you could download images, training, and you could deploy it on a target of your choosing. It doesn't have to be the RB3. It could be other platforms that Qualcomm has available. And I'll mention it again, the device cloud that we have online, it's available for you today. So even though there's a lot of data here floating around and a lot of opportunities, maybe you're not sure which direction to go. I have provided not a lot of examples, but a short list of examples to David. I could provide a lot more to him for him to deploy to you guys, where you guys can actually see what students have already done with different platforms for project applications. And maybe that'll inspire some ideas for you guys as well. Similar to this Edge Impulse, there's this concept that we have called, by the way, this is the website for the device cloud, right? You can log in, you register yourself, you authenticate yourself, and then you could actually run your model on a platform that is physically, stacked up in some server room, where it's not a simulation, it's actually a real hardware that you could pick and choose. So I put this link here because it's something that you guys will probably be using as you find your team maybe working on a platform. If the team doesn't have complete platforms for everybody, this is going to be an excellent resource for you to continue to develop your app or your project on a device cloud that is available out there today. And this is, we can find out, work with Infer X on if we needed to allocate a farm of platforms based on the demand and the need for these devices, maybe have them pre-allocated for your purpose. But today, you just log in, you authenticate yourself, you create an account, you log in, and you could, choose a platform and start developing on that platform. So at the end of the day, for me, it's like, this is great to have accessible, but I think you're going to want to touch the hardware. You're going to want to see how it's physically behaving. So our goal is ultimately QDC is a stepping stone to you getting the platform in hand and working with it. Let's see what I have here. you know, there's this concept called AI hub. Oh, there's some hate mail right there. Let me close that. All right, here we go. So there's some concept called, AI hub for us. So obviously there are many models out there that are not optimized for the Qualcomm SoC. This particular website has a bunch of archives, or, it has a library of existing models that are available today that have been optimized for the SoC, the Snapdragon SoC or the Dragon Wing SoC. So this is kind of a cool tool where maybe it'll be easy for you to go and grab models that are already available to you, available in our library, pick a device, and more or less, use it for an application that you want to immediately try before you develop or evolve your application to something much more sophisticated. The AI Hub here, also the website, it's intended to, if you have already a model that you've created yourself and you want to see how well it runs on a Qualcomm platform, this is definitely an option where you go in, it helps you. That basically the model here is, I don't know if I wrote it down here for our discussion. Yeah, basically, yeah, you bring your own model, right? You pick a target device that you want it to run on. You have to pick a runtime. That's a decision that you guys are working on, and you upload the configuration. And then the AI Hub actually is trying to, its role is to validate, quantize a model, make it efficient on our platform that you choose, and then spit out the actual optimized model for you, theoretically, to be able to download on a physical hardware and try your application. So this is a great resource. This particular research, the AI Hub and the Edge Impulse portals are great resources today you could start acting on, even though you don't have your actual hardware with you. Something to consider. And I did see David kind of show you some laptops here. We're not well, I guess we're in the laptop business now, right? So these laptops that you guys will get access to, have a lot more TOPS capabilities. The inference, if you wanted to do 100% inference on NPU, you would have to load some tools, and you can make that happen on our laptop. So there are many capabilities, obviously, that our SoC has that are implemented into these laptops for you guys to be able to maybe run something more aggressive, more of a larger model, if you will, than maybe doing something on a robotic or an IoT platform. So that's the website here. And I think I put in a spec. So there's actually a specification on the SoC that is on these laptops. I listed it here. You could take a look at it and see where, how this may be compatible, or by far much more interesting for you, perhaps for projects that you're deciding or are already working on. Maybe this could be a solution for you for better capabilities. And connectivity is always there for us. That's what we're good at. So there's this whole Wi-Fi, Bluetooth stuff. We've had professors tell us how they're implementing an IoT device, for example, and they're having issues with the wireless communications. And once they get ours, the wireless communications is amazing, right? So there's a lot of capabilities here, obviously, of technology that we've developed throughout. Let's see if I have anything else. Yeah, I think for me, I'm very interested in trying to, put you in a position where you're successful in doing your projects. And the projects have to be cool, right? The cool factor and the intriguing factor. But maybe depending on your level of skills, maybe you have to start small first, right? Take existing models that are already out there on the hub, exercise the process, see how you can modify it, see if you can learn how to optimize a model. Because ultimately, that is where we are benefiting. If you take a look at models that we could run today on the edge, perhaps the capabilities or the quality today is by far more greater than maybe it was 5 years ago. So these models have evolved where they don't need the cloud anymore. By the way, it was kind of, you can think of the concept of, I always have cloud access. Why would I not want to do a chat bot with a cloud, without a cloud, right? And there is one professor at Berkeley that we're sponsoring. He's got an interesting project with NASA, and he wants to be able to, he's put together a concept where when the astronauts are on the moon, they need assistance, and that assistance is based on scenarios around them. And that inference capability is a model that he's created. And what I like about what he says, in the moon, there's no cloud. So I have to use some edge device. So that's kind of cool. I love when he says that. So let me see if I covered it all. What other things do I have here? I think, you know, as you explore working with Qualcomm, there's a lot of resources out there for developer, right? So I also sent this link to David. And you know, there's a lot of stuff here, right? More than I could probably speak to. You do see the references to AI Hub, the device cloud. There's a lot of example code here. There's a lot of project examples that you could find in this link. So maybe this is a good starting point. This particular developer website, even though it's overwhelming, maybe it'll inspire some ideas as you kind of dive into the, you know, you peel the onion here and you see what's available or how Qualcomm is trying to present opportunities for people that want to. And I guess let me see if there's anything else. You know, we talked a little bit about the headset, right? The VR headset. So we used to have a platform, and we still do, like Quest and others that use our SoC. But we recently have been able to get a product release through with Samsung that is using Android OS. And that's a big win for us. So I want you to think of, if you're thinking of a concept of AR, VR for your applications, which we've seen students use for a previous platform that we used to sponsor. So this is something new for us. I was telling David that the headset that he was showing you guys will be available end of October. And we're waiting for like a formal release of this that's being done by the industry for the industry. But once that's available to us, we definitely want to get a couple of platforms to you guys. And what I've mentioned today before, if you don't mind me saying, is, you know, I definitely want to be challenged. I want you guys to challenge me in a way where you guys have too many projects and I have to find a way to get more platforms to you guys, right? Part of the development of your decision hopefully will incorporate people like Olivia and others that may be on the call here, but there's a lot of mentors that are lined up to help students within Qualcomm. They have a full-time job doing other stuff, but this is kind of like their tinkering mechanism of staying, you know, staying on the edge of what Qualcomm is trying to provide as well. So for me, I'm hopeful that as you come up with some ideas and have some interest in working with our platforms, we'll be able to collaborate with you, David, others on what would be a good way of progressing with a project that you're proposing.
All right.
All right, so let me finish there. And sorry I took a lot of your time. There's plenty of other things I want to say, but at the end of the day, good luck to you guys. And thank you for welcoming Qualcomm to your community there. We're excited to be part of it.
That's awesome. Yeah. So for an info session, that sure is a lot of info.
Oh, I'm sorry, guys. I was afraid of that. I was afraid of that.
Yeah. No, that's good. So I just have a couple things more that I want to talk about, because I think the students will want to know about. I was talking about earlier the M+1 Institute Edge Computing Conference that we have in April, May, and I didn't follow that thought through into why you would care about that. So let me close that thought out because I think this part's interesting. So there's a lot of potential here for projects that you can build out on these platforms. You can see there's a lot of support. There's a lot of things that are already built. We're going to provide support and help you guys along the way. But we want you to develop, as Adrian said, something really cool, something that's interesting. And we are going to have an opportunity for, if you do great projects, to have you showcase those projects at our Edge Computing Conference coming up in April of this year, or next year, sorry. And then this school year, this academic year. And then also select top projects for prizes. So Qualcomm's throwing us a lot of hardware for you guys to work with. And, you know, for those students that do a great job and really highlight, you know, like the awesome things that you can do with edge inferencing, there's going to be prizes in it for you. So hopefully that provides a little bit of a carrot, more so than just like everything else that Infer X is providing. There's an opportunity for you to cash in on some of the awesome stuff that we're going to be getting from Qualcomm. So that wraps it up. How do you get started? Talk with teams, form a team, brainstorm some ideas. And we're looking for proposals. So there's an interest form here that you can QR link to. So grab that interest form, fill it out, let us know you're interested. And then we'll do another like kind of get together next week sometime. We haven't ironed out exactly when that is yet. Then we'll see if more students are going to come and join and be interested in doing things. And then start to get some projects going and get, hardware's coming, I think next week for sure, shipping on Monday. So we'll see how quickly it gets here. So we'll have some hardware for you to play with. But like Adrian said, you don't have to wait for the hardware. You can start developing apps today and use their cloud device access to be able to do some testing and things like that, debugging, things like that before you actually get the hardware in here. All right, so that's what I had, and I'm super excited to see what you guys are going to create this year. I'm going to be close to this program throughout the year. Hopefully get to know lots of you through this. So with that, I'll wrap up. Go ahead and QR snap it and register if you're interested, and let me know if you have any questions. Any questions? We'll take questions now. I'm not sure if I can answer them all, but we will take questions.
I'll take a question too, if there is one.
Yes.
So will the VR headsets arrive at the same time for equipment?
End of
No.
October.
Yeah, the other equipment. So we're gonna get some waves here. First wave will come in next week. The VR headsets are looking to go into shipment toward the end of October. So I would expect them like November 1st, right, Adrian? Okay, another question.
How are these real like in comparison to like NVIDIA Jetsons?
Yeah, good question.
And like are we gonna be running like RTOSes on them? Are we gonna be running like Linux, like a full-fledged operating system? What will it look like?
Okay, here you go, Adrian.
I think this might.
I think your mic is muted. Yep.
Sorry. It's definitely competitive to the Jetson, the RB3 or even the Rubik Pi. And the Rubik Pi has multiple OS that you could utilize, that you could leverage. We even have a Qualcomm Linux version, which we probably recommend right now, the Ubuntu that just recently released. So hopefully you'll find yourself, if you're familiar with Jetson, you'll find yourself, impressed with the Rubik Pi at least.
Good. Yes.
I'm gonna be able to take the devices home, or is it restricted to the lab?
Yeah, that's a good question. So we haven't quite worked that out yet, but for right now, what we think the model is that we will keep all the hardware on the third floor in a lab space, and then allow you to have access to into the lab to be able to use it through key card access and things like that. So that's the current running assumption.
I think for me, it's at the end of the day, it's whatever we can do to unblock your development is key. So I'll work with Dave as I can. If that becomes an issue for you guys, that you need to maybe be able to have it with you a lot more often than it's available to you.
Yeah, so that's one really cool thing is that, if there's something that I didn't talk about today that you think you might need to build an interesting inferencing app on the edge, let me know, because we can potentially get that for you too. So, and maybe it's not a Qualcomm device, but maybe it's a LiDAR sensor or whatever it might be. Let me know what you're interested in. We'll help you with that too. So feel free to contact me, hurdle2@west.edu, or on the N+1 website. And let me know if you have any questions. Thanks, Adrian, for joining us today. That was awesome.
Thank you guys, man, for taking on this challenge and for listening to me. If there's ever any Infer X t-shirts, I'm coming by to get one, man.
We'll have to work on that. It's a great logo. All right.
Thank you guys. Nice to meet you. And good luck.
Thank you.